What is the big impact that you wanna leave?
So for me, I mean, I was raised, in a good environment. I from being a kid, my dad, was, he was doing very well. Multiple businesses, but my dad was a workaholic. He was always working, he was always grinding, and he had a lot of stress. And when he passed away, at 49 years old, had a heart attack out of nowhere, he left my mother and I in a terrible financial situation because he didn't change his will, didn't change his inheritance. So that created a lot of stress, after he passed away. And when I went through that and I knew what kind of person it made me become, it made me so bitter, so angry because of what happened. I made a decision that I would never want my children to go through that. I would never want anybody to go through that, you know. But at the same time, that taught me a great lesson because I went from having everything as a child, to now having nothing and having to rebuild myself. So my biggest mission now is to be able to change the generational, I hate to say generational curse because it's not a very nice thing, but it is what it is, because the way that people are living now is a result of the how they've been raised by their family, their ancestors, and a lot of people kind of look back on their family tree and they kind of think, well, who was my great great grandfather? Who was my great great aunt or whatever? Like, and if you chances are if you don't know who they are, chances are they didn't do something significant because you'd know who they were,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I made a decision, Dustin, that I wanted to be the person in this family that made the difference, that changed the next generation.
I love that. And
You know?
I
Yeah.
found myself saying something so similar. I was looking through a previous conversation I had, and I think I put it this way. I was like, I want to be the catalyst for change in my whole lineage. And I love that idea. And it's that idea of legacy too. It's like
Yeah.
we more so than leaving a legacy, it starts by living a legacy. And it goes back to what you said, like who are we gonna become today that generations down the line of our family are going to be like, I remember what he did, and what he did made the ripple effect for generations to come. That's so,
Yeah.
man. I'm with that said, I'm so curious. Who are who are the three most influential people in your life, and how have they impacted you?
To this day, or just in my entire life, and
Entire life to this day? It's very where you want to take it.
yeah, obviously, I would say my father. My father is my biggest why, and like, I had a very great relationship with my dad. I was very close to him, and when he passed, it was a huge shock for me. But my dad always said to me, like, whatever you do, I know you're going to do well. And him being an entrepreneur and somebody that was on the verge of building something really big, but his health obviously deteriorated and got the better of him. That's one thing I've learned. No matter how hard you work in life, you got to you got to take care of yourself. You've got to make sure you get the time to actually enjoy your lifestyle and have the freedom and not have the constant stress and worrying about things. And that's my dad. My dad he was a worry. He was trying to please everybody, instead of focusing on what he was doing. So that was one thing I learned a lot of great lessons from my dad, some positive and some negative. But my dad ultimately is my strongest why. And I would say, the two people in my life today that, have made an impact on my life are my two mentors, Miss Desi Lepova and Mr. Darren Gibson, because they come into my life 2 years ago. And, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, So I give them I can't thank them enough for what they've done, just from, the connections and the network that they've put me into, and being able to have connections with them, and the rooms that they've got me into because of me just listening and following and being loyal to them, because I never had that. I mean, I've got a lot of great friends. I've got a lot of people that have always been there for me, and I'll always love them. I'll always be there for them and help them in any way I can. But it's always the people that have you know had an impact on your life that are the people that have seen more in you than you see in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what mentors will do for you. A mentor will identify your strengths and your weaknesses, and they'll be completely frank with you. They'll tell you, "Listen, you need to get better. You know, you're good at this, but you need to get better at this." You
Yep.
know, they'll give you constructive criticism, and that's what I've learned to take, you know, and a lot of people can't take that,
Yeah.
Dustin.
Very
A lot
yep.
of people, you know, whenever they choose mentors, they wanna they wanna be told what they wanna hear. You know, most people wanna be mentored their way. They don't wanna be mentored the way the mentor needs to mentor them, you know? But what they don't realize, if they keep doing things their way, they're gonna keep getting their results. So
Yep.
whenever I work with somebody, they don't do what I tell them to do, I don't work with them. 'Cause
Yep.
I don't want their results, you know? They want my results. So, again, you've gotta protect your energy as well,
For sure.
at the same time, but yeah, I mean, I've had some, you know, I would say that, you know, in the last 2 years, just the rooms that I've been in and the conversations I've had with some phenomenal individuals has been extremely valuable, you know? And that's what connections will do for you, you know? One connection can lead you to so many other connections, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, it's the power of association.
Yeah, that's so good.